This is the Timeform Radio Irish Angle podcast with Billy Nash.
And a warm welcome once again to Billy. We have got stacks to discuss, and no doubt a certain Mr. Mullins will be popping up on one or two occasions. Billy, how are you?
I'm pretty good, Alan. How are you? Good to talk to you.
Yes, it's been a while, hasn't it? How are you enjoying all these mighty horses coming from Willie Mullins' yard?
Gosh, it's fantastic. I mean, it's great to be able to see them up close and in person, so to speak. I know he is absolutely dominating things over here at the moment, but like they're top-class horses, and it's great to see top-class horses, doesn't matter what yard they come from.
It's a big weekend, looking forward to Fairyhouse, of course, on Sunday, with 7 races. How crucial is this card on the Irish jumps racing calendar?
It's a pretty big one. It's the first really big national hunt weekend of the year, I suppose, and there's always plenty pointers for the rest of the season, plenty Cheltenham pointers in the past. Some very good horses, for example, have won the Royal Bond, and the Hatton's Grace, of course. So it's a very big weekend, and it'll establish a bit of a pecking order, certainly in the novice events.
Can we take, obviously at this stage it's quite hard to know who's running because Sunday is a fair few days away, but the Juvenile, the Grade 3 that starts the card, if we go in race order, are you expecting to see something very decent in that race?
It's very hard to say at this stage, Alan. The horses that have run over hurdles before, there's plenty of previous winners in the race. I suppose none of them look anything out of the ordinary at this stage. Some nice horses, like I said, the likes of Cabjoy, Scooping, Prussian Eagle, those sort of horses. But the interesting ones are the ones we haven't seen over hurdles, at least in this country. Willie Mullins has a horse called Calkier, who came from France. Finished fourth in his only run in France. He's an interesting contender. Gordon Elliott is 4th. He's got off the flat. We haven't seen over hurdles yet. 3 of them owned by Jigginstown. So it really will be. It just depends which ones turn up. A horse of Andy Oliver's called I'll Be Your Clown is a decent horse on the flat. It certainly looks like one that will make a hurdler. But yeah, it's just a case of wait and see with that. But should be won by a good horse all the same.
1 o'clock on Sunday is this year's renewal of the Grade 1 Royal Bond, the novice hurdle over 2 miles. It's got a fabulous roll call of past winners. There'll be a lot of interest in Willie Mullins' 4-year-old Allez Colombier, who's already touted supreme. Neptune, unsurprising, with fairly shortest quotes at this stage. What's the kind of anticipation with him? Because we're going on reputation. He seems to have a mighty one.
Yeah, from what I can gather, he does have a huge reputation. Like you said, I think he's actually favourite in the place for the Supreme Novice Hurdle already. Yet another one of the horses he's got from France. He won 3 of his 4. In fact, all 3 completed starts in the French equivalent of bumpers. He was pulled up on one occasion. But yeah, like you said, his reputation precedes him. He's a horse they obviously think an awful lot of. And it's, just the mere fact that they're thinking of starting him off over hurdles in the Royal Bond will tell you exactly what they're expecting from him. He'll be hugely exciting if he does run, but he certainly won't have it all his own way. It's a very interesting renewal. The British Raider Otago Trail would be a fascinating contender if Anisha Williams decides to bring him over. But you'd have to say he's won a novice hurdle over 2.5 miles at Carlisle, which is quite a stiff track. That's chalk and cheese to 2 miles around Fairyhouse, so it'll be interesting to see how he handles that test. Some other really decent horses in the race, the likes of Draco and Tandem, off the flat for Aidan O'Brien and Dermot Weld respectively, both winners over hurdles. Willie has another very interesting horse called Nichols Canyon, who of course was a listed winner on the flat. He was with John Gosden. He made an impressive start over hurdles at Cork recently. And you also have Gordon Elliott's No More Heroes, who's a really, really nice prospect, but again, 2 miles around Fairleigh was probably going to be too sharp for him if he does turn up.
Looking at the entries at this stage, Billy, Willie Mullins has said recently about the fact that there weren't enough races for him in Ireland, and the fact that he's got 3 in the entry stage. Do you read much into that, or is it just Willie giving a quote and too much is made of it? What do you think?
No, I think he's probably right, actually, at the moment. You say he's got 3 in the Royal Bond. One of them actually ran today, a horse called Max Dynamite, who won at Thurles. But yeah, if you just look at the number of maiden hurdles run in Ireland over the last, we'll say, 2 to 3 weeks, Willie's absolutely cleaning up. So he's got a whole pile of horses now that have won maiden hurdles that will have to probably take each other on at some stage. And I'm sure, yeah, he'd love to have a lot more novice hurdles over here that he could pick up and cherry pick throughout the season. But yeah, he's going to have to, he's going to have to try and keep them apart. And I'm assuming that will mean that he's going to have to send more horses to the UK, earlier in the season than he kind of tends to do in the past.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. Moving over to the fences, 1:30 on the Sunday card at Fairyhouse. It will be live here on the programme. This year's renewal of the Drinmore Novices Chase over 2.5 miles. It is another Grade 1, nearly €50,000 to the winner. How are we shaping up? Are we going to have a strong renewal by the looks of things?
But very hopefully, and certainly it's a very strong entry. Again, just like the other races, we really don't know what's going to run. A lot will depend on Jigginstown, who it seems have a particularly strong hand with novice chasers at the moment. They've got a lot of entries in this race. The likes of Valser Lido, who was a very impressive winner on his chasing debut for Willie Mullins recently. They've Real Steel and Band of Blood, both of whom Mouse Morris has acquired from Philip Fenton in recent times. And possibly the most interesting of all of them, a horse called Una 2 of Willie Mullins, who was a very good novice hurdler, missed last season through injury, but he's back and, possibly going to make his chasing debut in the Drinmore. But again, plenty of others in contention. The most interesting ones, I suppose, would be the likes of the Tullow Tank for Desi Hughes. Impressive over this course on his chasing debut recently. And Noel Mead's Apache Stronghold, who was a good novice hurdler last year. He got his chasing career after the perfect start at Down Royal recently. Jumped really nicely on that occasion. They're two very, very interesting prospects. But again, it's a race that will probably cut up a small bit. But whatever wins it, it's going to take a good horse to win this.
And will Annie Power scare a few away for the Hatton's Grace? Do you think that she'll run on Sunday for the Grade 1?
I believe she will. That's the indications are that she will anyway. And if she does turn up, I won't say it's a walk in the park, but she's definitely going to take plenty of beating. I mean, she's miles clear on Timeform ratings. And again, getting the mares allowance, she's going to be very hard to beat. It's a small entry. It's a fairly select entry. You've got Zaidpur, who's won the race before. You've Little King Robin, who's been in tremendous heart and ran really well behind Hurricane Fly and Jetski the other day. You've Jetson, who won the World Series hurdle at Punchestown. Okay, it was a bit of a surprise, but he still managed to win it, to beat Cuveg on that occasion. And you've the Triumph Hurdle winner Tiger Roll. So, like I said, small but select field. But yeah, if Annie Power turns up, it's very hard to see her getting beaten.
And Billy, is it pointless us debating who goes to what race, especially at this stage, looking at the Cheltenham contest? Because Annie Power, I'm sure this will rumble on, and the questions will be fired at Willie Mullins. He'll probably straight bat them, and we'll probably not know until probably a couple of weeks before the festival. Are we just running down a dark alley, really, and thinking that we should give up trying to work out who goes where?
I think Willie Mullins is a very difficult man to second guess, and I think he'll do exactly the same as he did last year. He won't make up his mind until much, much closer to the time. Like you said, maybe even a week, 10 days before the Cheltenham Festival. He's in a wonderful position in that he has loads of options for all these races. Annie Power in particular, she could run in the Champion Hurdle, she could run the World Hurdle, she could run in the David Nicholson Mares Hurdle. So he'll keep his options open as long as he possibly can. As we know with the National Hunt horses, injuries are part and parcel of the game, and they do happen at inopportune moments. So that's another thing to consider. I mean, there's always a chance, for example, that a Hurricane Fly or something might pick up an injury, and Annie Power could then be rerouted to a Champion Hurdle, or we'll see how Faheen develops in the next couple of months. So yeah, he'll keep his options open as long as he possibly can. But like you said, no real point in worrying about it at this stage of the season.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. With Annie Power, you can tell me what it's like in Ireland with the TV and the press. Obviously, Black Caviar, say in Australia, she was a real superstar and the nation loved her. What's it like in Ireland? What sort of coverage does she get, Annie Power?
Well, she's certainly nowhere near Black Caviar at this stage.
Could be, though.
She could be. She's getting there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she lost her unbeaten record at Cheltenham, but I don't think there was any disgrace in that. She was just beaten by a really, really good horse. Still ran a cracking race herself. But yeah, she's building up a big fan club, there's no doubt about it. And, she has, like you said, she has the potential to go even higher still. So it'll be really nice to see her back in action on Sunday, and no doubt she will add a few to the gate, definitely.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to listening to her. These are all really must-listen to races, and do look out on Sunday for that terrific Fairy House car. Now, the day before, preceding Newbury, got the Hennessy and Willie Mullins sending over Jacquardin. We've had a few emails saying, well, 5-year-olds can't win. Willie Mullins in handicap chases in the UK, not a great record, but there's a lot of positives for Jacquardin. What can you tell us about the Timeform rating and what you think about the horse in the big race?
Yeah, he's a horse I have a lot of time for, but there's a lot of question marks about him, going into the Hennessy. He's still relatively unexposed, of course. Like you said, only a 5-year-old. I wouldn't worry too much about that. I mean, people said 5-year-olds couldn't win champion chases. Masterminded blew that out of the water. And, we've had the likes of Long Run and these horses coming from France, winning big races at a young age. So I wouldn't be a bit worried about that. That stat wouldn't bother me too much. What would worry me, though, is the trip. It's 3 miles and 2. It's a big step into the unknown for him. He got 2 miles and 5 perfectly fine at Leopardstown last year, but albeit in a 4-runner race, but certainly wasn't stopping at the end of it. And, unfortunately, we didn't quite get the chance to see what he could do at Cheltenham. He was travelling really well in the JLT, came down 4 out, but, too far out to be drawing any firm conclusions. like I said, he's a horse with massive potential. I think he's on a really nice handicap mark. I think 142 is very exploitable, and I can certainly see where they're mad to take their chance. But it's like I said, it's a big step into the unknown. It's only his 4th run over fences. I wouldn't be